So here we are, guys, back in the UK and in my hometown of Hastings. That's the Old Town of Hastings that you can see behind me. Yeah, wandering down here certainly evokes memories of my teenage years. It wasn't far from here, just over there near the main road, where I used to go to night school to learn electrical engineering. Back in those days, though, electronics glowed in the dark, and it was rumoured to run on steam, but there you go. We're on the side in All Saints Street, on the side of the hill, what's known as the East Hill.
Incidentally, All Saints Street, along with the High Street, are the oldest streets in Hastings, and they date back to the year 1000 and even older than that. I'm not really into history, but I can't help imagining what it must have been like when the older fishermen of Hastings and the population there were wandering up and down this street over 1,000 years ago. Hastings is an old Saxon town that got its name from a warlord that sort of roamed East Sussex way back in the 700s. And his name was Haster. Ings means followers, so ending up with Hastings. Hastings started to grow into a town after the Battle of Hastings, the Norman conquest in 1066, only to be burnt down again in the 1300s by the French. To carry on with the important historic theme, we'll soon find ourselves as we walk down All Saints Street where Mickey Mouse comes for his holidays. As we walk on down, it won't be long before we find ourselves on the seafront and the fish market, together with an island there which is famous for winkles. Some of the houses in this street really are very old.
Quite famous, called the Piece of Cheese Cottage. You can see roughly by the shape of it that it's like a wedge of cheese. Now, rumour has it that it was flat shaped first and they named it after a piece of cheese afterwards. There you go, celebrated movie stars Mr and Mrs Michael Mouse. I spent their summer holidays here. I really believe that, don't you? Yes.
Now down on the seafront, and this is the famous Winkle Island, put there by the local charity, the Winkle Club.
Winkle Island, so it's quite famous, and it's supported by all sorts of famous people. Winston Churchill was a member, so was Lord Montgomery, and even the Queen. The thing that used to make my mum laugh of all sorts of things here. Basically, the Winkle is a very small shellfish, and yeah, you've got little silver ones. I think Winston Churchill was given a gold one even, and that they put in their pocket, and if they meet another Winkle Club member, they're supposed to say "Winkle up." If they haven't got their Winkle in their pocket, which is what my mum used to laugh at, then they were fined, and then they had to basically pay a fine and pay that to the charity of the Winkle Club. So it's quite fascinating. I'm going to put a link down below if you want to look it up. It's well worth a good old look, and you can even support it if you want. You can actually donate some money to charity. Now I'm going to wander down this street here in a moment. This is basically called Rockinore, and it takes you to the very end of Hastings, to the sea. I'm probably not going to walk that far because my little legs get tired.
There's one thing for sure in the old town of Hastings, you'll find lots of great places to eat and drink. There's lots of fresh seafood to be found down in the fish market area, and there is fish and chips and even jellied eels. although I've never had the courage to try them. Have you ever tried jellied eels? Are they nice? Most of Hastings fishing boats come with this RX registration, which means they're registered in Rye, that's a port a little further up the coast. Now here's where you can buy some fresh local fish, some of it straight off the Hastings boats. Here we have the East Hill lift, which amazingly is run by water. By putting water in one lift, the weight of the water makes it come down, which then drags the other one up. Unfortunately, I couldn't take you for a ride in that lift, as on the day we visited, it appeared to be out of order.
Might throw me out for a start, but have a sneaky look. Shall we? So there we go, that was the Fisherman's Museum. We're just going to walk on a bit further, not much more, and then we'll bring you back on the beach side, which has a few more interesting bits to show you. We're now coming to the far end of the Old Town in Hastings, or far end of Hastings, but we're on the beach part of it, and this bit is what they call Rock and All.
What you see sticking out into the sea is what they call the harbour arm. It was never quite finished and should have been a full harbour, but it still does afford some protection for those fishing boats that currently use the beach.
Now come up to the lifeboat area, and this is Hastings Lifeboat. Let's go and have a look, shall we?
Once you get into the lifeboat house, it's pretty interesting. Not only is there a live and functioning lifeboat, but it's also quite a nice little visitor attraction where there's a gift shop and a guide to show you around. If you're into techie things, the Hastings Lifeboat is what they call the Shannon class, and it runs not with propellers but with water jets squirting out the back, enable it to do over 25 knots. They are powered by two 13-litre engines which derive an amazing 650 horsepower.
That's set up probably for navigation, there's a chart on there. So somebody who's navigating might sit there, but if the
There's more information about this and a whole lot more on the RNLI's website. You can even make a donation there should you want to. I've left a link down below. The lifeboat crew are volunteers and the RNLI itself is funded by the public's donation. One amazing donation came from a Mr Richard Colton, who left in his will 2 1960s Ferrari cars, which were later sold at auction for an amazing £8,530,000, enough to buy the Hastings Lifeboat and its tractor, another lifeboat and a whole lot more. That's why the Hastings Lifeboat carries the name Richard and Caroline Colton. This is the Hastings Lifeboat turning over in a rough sea, which makes you realise just how brave the volunteer crew on these boats are. I always find it amazing that the RNLI is funded by public donations and the boats are crewed by volunteers. This makes it so important getting donations from the public, so I have left a link down below where you can find out a whole lot more about the RNLI, which is hard to say, and how to make a donation.
Pretty work, brave boys, pretty work, I say. Okay, there's that little train I told you about. Okay, cheers.
I had ones on there.
This is the High Street, where you'll find lots and lots of independent shops with quite interesting things to sell. A far cry from what you find in most shopping centres.
So we come back down the High Street again, and we're going to go down a bit further, past Porters, which will be on our left hand minute, then further down there on our right is the High Street. Get a bit further down, and then as we turn right from here, you will see it will be in George Street. That used to be a very, very dodgy street when I was a younger, but very almost scared to go along there because of lots of teddy boys and things were around in those days. So. Cool, as you turn here, so you can get that amazing smell of fish and chips from behind me there. Anyway, we've got to go down here, which is George Street. As I say, when I was here, it was a sort of danger street. Now it's very holiday-ish and arty-farty and lovely little tea shops and curio shops all down here. So we'll go for a walk down here.
You don't want to know. You just have to give me his...
Yeah.
As you can see, for a place where I used to come in my teenage years, well, I was very, very scared to come down that night. I really was. So full of all sorts of strange young men and hooligans and things. It's now a thriving sort of holiday area with lots of curio shops and restaurants and the like. Amazingly busy today.
That's good.
We'll drive through.
No, it's so good.
And it's for free as well. Oh, no, someone's about to post.
All that I could do is think about those days. Start right back again.
So we come back to the pump house again, and up the side there's a little alley, and again back in my misspent youth, used to spend some time in the pump house. The pub behind me here is the Anchor, and there used to be sort of fights and things between the two pubs. Anyway, so that was a bit of a dodgy time in those days. So we're going to go up the side of the pump house, and we'll show you a little bit up around there. And where some of my family lived, and Mr Foyle of Foyles War lived as well.
My last assignment.
Well, there you go. That was a test for me keep fit, wasn't it? It used to be the first pub I ever drank in. It was called the Hole in the Wall. So you could have a drink in the Hole in the Wall. Opposite it, there used to be another one here called the Kicking Donkey. Yeah, it's getting a bit windy now, so I will apologise for any wind up my microphone, but it wasn't when I started out. And the wind in these little roads up here is getting quite drafty. Now that ahead of us up there is St Clements Church. Let's see if I can show it to you. But up the top there you see two cannonballs opposite the window. Now one of those cannonballs is made of steel, the other one's made of cement. And the reason they say is, somebody a long time ago, I don't know who fired someone a long time ago fired a cannonball, and it lodged in the tower, one side of the window. And then to make it even when they did the tower up, they put a cement one on the other side to make it all neat and tidy. If you watch the TV detective, wartime detective of Foyles War, this is where Mr Foyle, the chief detective, operated from and lived in this part of Hastings. I'm trying to remember where it all was really, but in my, again, very young years, there's my aunty Nancy used to live up here, along with my cousin Donald. They've both long since departed. But I'm trying to remember. Look, tiny little house I seem to remember. It was in between one of the passages up here. But I say, an area where most of the tourists don't come. But if you notice all these, you look at all the buildings here, they're all very old, very tiny. This is not the tour of Hastings, it's Windsor Keep Fit video, I think. So let's get going, see if we can find my auntie, alright? Now, I don't know whether it's it, but I reckon this is probably where my auntie used to live. So I'm going to walk a little way up it. I'm not going to go too far because I don't want to wake up the neighbours, do I? So let's give it a go and see what we can find. So when I was about 15 years old, thereabouts anyway, that's where I used to come and visit my auntie Nancy and my cousin Don. Onwards we go. We just keep walking up around here for a bit because it's an area where you wouldn't as a tourist normally come, and it's quite a fascinating area.
This is where Mr Foyle's house of Foyles War is, and reportedly sold for a sum of £785,000 in 2016.
Oh, there we go. So now if you look behind me, there's this little passageway. Now that's where my auntie Nancy used to live. You went down there until the other end that I showed you before. As I say, I won't go down there because it's a bit private. But at least I found it. I haven't been here for, what? 35, more than that, 40 years since I've been here, or more, yeah? So we're climbing a little bit more, but this is actually climbing up out of Hastings, so it's quite a fair old hike up the hill. Now what I'm trying to climb up to, and I say it shouldn't be far now, I guess it's not there anymore, but here, literally used to be a film studio years and years ago. Yeah, I think this is it here. As I say, here behind me there, over there, I'm convinced that side. It actually used to be a film studio years and years ago. I don't know what films they made or whatever. Probably even way back to the black and white days, I would think. So we'll wander back down and see what we can find. This is part of my old night school. In here we used to study electrical things, really. It was called radio, TV and electronics. That was my classroom. Yeah. I was doing my exams there. When I was about 17, 18, I did my exams, and that was the time when the first transistor radio started to come in. Up until then, even portable radios had valves in. Go way back to the car now. No, we're not. We're not on our way back to the car, we're on our way back to there because we're going the wrong bloody way. Just up here a bit more, we are on our way back to the car. Finishing our day at the seaside with good old fish and chips. There we go. Look at that. Gorgeous, isn't it? Okay. Nothing better than fish and chips, I say. So there we are. This is Swin on the Feeling Good channel. I'm feeling good because I got my fish and chips, and I hope you're feeling good too, and hope to see you back again soon where we'll be going to some other exciting places. Okay, bye bye.